some of the community says, no, we absolutely don't need any ICE. We need to get rid of them. But no, I'm like, wait a minute, if this guy has 4 felonies, just got to beat up his wife for the 4th time, and he's coming out, that's a guy you want to, hey, let's see what's going on with you. If you got, Jose, who was just driving down the street, got caught on a DUI checkpoint, wasn't drunk, but doesn't have a license, no, that guy should not be getting deported. So I think there's a fine balance.
So there is this constant debate, right? The good immigrant, the bad immigrant, all
this,
this,
right?
Let's
do it.
But I will not put people in categories for good immigrant, bad immigrant, because unfortunately the way that immigration and ICE and the system sees people is that the same category for people that you're saying with felonies and beats up their wife and things like that, that same category includes people that were at the border and detained at the border and then came in right after, like from the 90s. So for me, it's like, that category, it goes back to 1996 when Clinton signed these laws called pre-IRA. It's like they're basically these sets of immigration laws that if you have a domestic violence, you get deported, even if you have a green card. If you were caught at the border, you're going to get deported immediately without a chance to see a judge, because they had this. Now the officers at the Border Patrol officers had the power to just immediately deport people. And if you came in after, you were banned. And then people that came in and then they went to go see their dying parent or their family member that was sick and then came back, those people also have a 10-year ban. So the whole debate about good and bad immigrant, it also takes a lot of folks that have no criminal history but have immigration issues into that category and sweeps them in that way.
But I believe that debate needs to be had, because that's the reason, Cynthia, that...
No, I'm saying we can have that debate, but I'm saying that I will never put people I'm only going to support these people, not these people.
Oh, I will.
Yeah,
I will. Those guys, I'm not supporting those guys.
Yeah, I've defended people with the most heinous, the most terrible things. But because, at least for me, because of my faith,
right?
If they serve their time and they show that they were rehabilitated and whatnot, then let's give them an opportunity to show.
No, I agree with that. I think the problem is this, that in the United States, you don't get any immigration reform, and they've been promising us for I don't know how many decades to get some kind of immigration reform because of that same issue that you're bringing up, saying, I don't want to mix them in 2 categories. Then when you say that, then the other side of the aisle says, well, then I don't want to negotiate with you.
Well, the problem, I think, with the whole immigration debate is that if the only chance that there is going to be immigration reform is if you say all the new arrivals, we're not letting nobody come in. And that's really what's been up for debate. And every time they talk about immigration reform, it's always because of the border. It's not because the people are here. It's because of the border and how much enforcement they want to put at the border.
Well, they need to.
And they don't want to. They don't want to give any reform if they're saying that the borders need more enforcement. The borders this and that. Well, but the borders, I mean.
No, but we wouldn't. If you're, I think the problem was after Reagan gave amnesty. Reagan's big promise was, I'm going to shut these borders down. I'm going to make them much more strict, and gave everybody amnesty, gave millions, which was great. But the problem was there was no border stoppage. It kept going. So now you got Republicans that are sitting there saying, no, we're not going to get bamboozled again. And that it's like both sides don't want to give up anything. When it comes to a compromise, both sides are going to feel a little bit like losers.
The only way we're going to get reforma is if the community stands up. Like the amount of people that are in this country, 11 million undocumented folks in this country. Yeah. Like if the community could stand up as a whole united, but nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to have like a movement anymore. Nobody wants to go out and protest.
We do.
No, because where is it? Because people do like these actions and movements, and because of this debate, oh, well, we're not going to go march over there because we're not going to allow for someone with crimes to fix status.
Well, that's the thing.
Or only help the DACA kids.
You need to have compromise. The way you're saying is kind of just, no, we're going to keep every immigrant. There's no such thing as a bad immigrant. I think we have to admit there is something that's bad. Just like there's bad citizens, there's bad immigrants.
Well, okay. Now it doesn't sound like bad hombres, right? No, don't go there.
As long as they're not bad hombres, we're okay.
Don't go there. No.
Let's get it in.
But I would say that this is a conversation that our community needs to have, because that's the problem. Is I think a lot of folks also got very complacent with DACA only. And I say, well, what about the original dreamers? What about their parents?
Absolutely.
What about folks that have been here for 20 years and have, okay, you want to say no crimes and have worked and all this stuff? Then what about them? Where can they get a reform?
Well,
reforma.
I actually have I have an immigration plan, believe it or not. My immigration plan would be, seriously, this is what it is. I'll give you a quick version of it. You do need to shut the borders down pretty tight, right? After that, it's a 10-year plan where everybody who is illegal, doesn't have a card, they sign up for this plan. Automatically, you'll get some kind of ID showing that you are not a citizen, you're not this, but they can't deport you. Within 4 to 5 years, those people will automatically be awarded a green card if they stay clean. After those 4 or 5 years, you're going to go to 10 years. After that 10 years, you're going to get a citizen. And between that time, if you get arrested for any kind of felony, you're gone. In other words, all right, guys, we're giving everybody a clean slate right here. You got 10 years to get it together. You will become a citizen. And if you don't, you're gone. Because that way it's showing, hey, man, we are going to reward the people that are doing right. The people that are doing wrong are gone, because that's what's going on in America. You got certain people, and it's a small minority that break the law, and then they show it on the news. They're like, look, this guy should have been like the guy in Frisco that killed that lady. He was deported like 15 times or something. Like, that's insane.
I don't remember how many times.
It was a lot.
But then you're gonna have to define what's good and the bad.
If this guy put a gun to your tia's face at the local market and took her wallet, that's bad. Yes or no?
What crime is that?
That's robbery.
Robbery or criminal threats? What is? Yeah,
I don't know if
that's what I'm saying. Like you're gonna have to define.
That's armed robbery.
And you're gonna have to define that in every state.
That's fine.
Because there's a lot of states in this country that have these ridiculous laws, and like we're seeing right now in Florida or in Kansas, where it's like just for not being documented.
Yeah,
okay, but sorry, if we are going to shut down the borders, like you say, then America also, the U.S. needs to also get out of those countries and stop depleting them and stop, taking advantage of those countries, because that's why they're in such an economic necessity.
And that is absolutely right.
And there's a lot of places in Mexico, because I represent a lot of indigenous folks as well. And this is not in part of a lot of the conversations, but indigenous folks are also leaving because their lands are being taken by corporations and the government and all that, because they're trying to extract from them.
Yes.
And so those are asylum seekers. Those are also asylum seekers. And so if you're saying shut down the borders, are you gonna shut it down for those children, for those kids?
I would say, like, let's go to pretty much what you're talking about. Let's say Title 42, right? Title 42 was just taken out about a month or two ago. In June, right? I think it was a fiasco now, what's going on. I think Title 42 was much better, because instead of the waiting room being in America, which it is now, in New York, they can't handle it anymore. You finally got states that are super liberal that said we want the immigrants, but that's when they were at the border and they don't see it. Like in Texas, as soon as the Texas guys started sending them to New York's out there now. They're saying Biden needs to do something. You got Democrats now saying that Biden is dropping the ball on immigration. Why? Because
I think so. Yeah. I mean, but I'm not a Democrat, so I'm a Democrat.
Yeah, no. So
I definitely I do not align myself with the Democrats and Republican Party.
Hey, we're the same.
No, because it's but
I
do not align myself with that. But I do think that, Biden wasn't doing great. Obama's a deporter in chief. Trump wasn't great. All these people have not been doing great, but it's going to be in Congress. The Congress people that we have, for example, in California, that we send out to go, fight. Represent. Where are you talking about immigration? They're not. They're not. And so that's what I don't agree with. I don't agree with the fact that this conversation is always left to the back.
Well, they do that, and they don't compromise just for that reason. So you can keep fighting. So people, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on as far as immigration, they don't do anything. And that is, I mean, as far as us we're a huge voting bloc, but we don't push the issue on them. But to me, there should be some kind of immigration reform. I work construction when I'm not here podcasting, and a lot of the guys at work, I mean, come on, no tienen papeles. And I know some of these guys for 20 years. And to me, like, dude, this guy should should have papers by now. He should be a citizen. So the immigration policy is definitely broken.
Yeah.
And I think something needs to happen. Now, what do you think though? Do you think that I want to go back to Title 42. Do you think Title 42 letting it expire or just taking off the books was a good thing or not?
I think Title 42 was horrible.
Okay.
And I think Title 42 was just an excuse, a blanket to try to excuse not wanting to allow asylum seekers to be processed like the law allows them for. This is why the United States made this agreement for asylum. This is why we created asylum laws back in the day. And I think it's really messed up because if you look at the way our asylum laws were a long time ago, Ellis Island, there was not all this vetting. And so I get, yes, times have changed and you have to get stricter or this and that. I get that debate. But the fact is that we have gone so far from what asylum was supposed to be. It's supposed to be to help people that are vulnerable and in need, and they're seeking protection from our government. Okay. Asylum and Title 42, what I saw it did was that it made it a lot more dangerous for folks that were immigrating, for folks that wanted to flee and are seeking, protection from the government. For example, during Title 42, there was a expedition that was hit by a truck in the border, at the border. And all these families, these people have lost their lives and families have been destroyed because of that. And I worked on some of those cases.
Wasn't that expedition taken off from the law or something?
The expedition was
That's
at a cross section,
Yeah.
at an intersection, but we can't talk about the details.
But
of that,
that's just typical
and it wasn't running away from
coyotes taking off and
no. But the fact is that Title 42 made it more dangerous for some of these folks. Could have easily presented themselves at the border, been vetted by CBP, but instead you have to go through more dangerous routes to get to the U.S. and get the protection.
But están cruzando como siempre. They've always been crossing. The difference now with back then is this.
It became a lot. It became a premium for coyotes.
Well,
Title 42 allowed them to spike up the prices and to have people come more dangerous.
Yes. But the issue is this. Back when we were young, back in the days when we were younger, you would pay the coyote, you would come through, and you would come, maybe two of your family members. Now what's going on is you got people from every country, from Mexico down south. They're coming in busloads and truckloads, and you've got thousands and thousands of people. And if you let's say we got 50,000 at the border. We let them all come in. We check their paperwork. They come in. You're going to tell me the next week you're not going to have another 50,000, and the next week you're not going to have. So in other words, if that's the case, we just have open border policy, just let everybody in, because Venezuela, that means everybody in Venezuela will qualify for asylum. Everybody. If you guys enjoyed this clip and want to see some more, click right here. If you guys want to see the full interview, click right here. Thanks for watching.